Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is, well, it's to take a single, really foundational scientific paper and use it to maybe challenge how we think about ecological architecture.
Yeah, we're kind of setting aside the big, majestic predators for a moment.
Exactly. And focusing on a tiny animal you might think of as, I don't know,
Yeah,
common, maybe even just a nuisance.
that's the one.
Yeah.
We are diving into a crucial piece of research. It's from 2007, published in Biological Conservation.
By Miguel Delibes-Mateos and his colleagues.
Right. The title is Rabbits as a Keystone Species in Southern Europe. And the paper, it really investigates this massive hypothesis
We too.
that the common European rabbit, or Rictologus cuniculus, isn't just, dinner for local predators.
Right.
It might actually be the ecological cornerstone for the entire Iberian Peninsula.
Wow. Okay, so when most of us hear keystone species, we think of like high-impact regulators, right? Sea otters and kelp forests, that kind of thing.
Like a classic examples.
But this study seems to position the rabbit differently, more like structural support.
Precisely. A keystone species is defined by its disproportionate influence on maintaining the organization and diversity of its community.
And the Iberian Peninsula, where they did this research, that's quite a stage for this kind of analysis.
Oh, absolutely. It's a globally recognized biodiversity hotspot. And crucially, it hosts 33 species of birds of prey.
33, that's huge.
It's over 60% of Europe's total raptor species, all crammed into this one region.
That's an incredible density. It suggests the whole system is built on, well, a massive amount of available prey.
It really is. And the source material, it shows just how reliant this community became. We're talking at least 29 different predators in the region.
29?
Yeah, including 17 raptors and 9 carnivores. They all rely on the European rabbit as a food source. For many of the most vulnerable species there, it's the main thing they eat.
But that dependency, it creates a kind of ecological house of cards, right? Because, as the paper points out, over the last 50 years, the bottom of that food web basically suffered a catastrophe.
Tell us about the diseases.
Right, it was these two major viral diseases that just decimated the rabbit population.
A real 1-2 punch
Yeah.
that fundamentally destabilized the ecosystem. The first crisis started back in the 1950s with myxomatosis. That's just swept through.
Nasty stuff.
And then in the late 1980s, rabbit hemorrhagic disease, or RHD, hit. The combined effect of these two viruses was, well, devastating.
How bad are we talking?
Well, to give you some context, the official rabbit harvest in Spain, it plummeted from roughly 10 million rabbits a year in the late 80s down to maybe 4 million in recent years. That's a massive, massive loss.
And obviously, when you lose the base of the food chain like that, the top just collapses. This decline must have had profound, immediate consequences for the hunters that specialized on rabbits.
It absolutely did. And the paper focuses heavily on sort of two poster children for this crisis.
The Iberian lynx.
Right, Lynx pardinus, which is still the most endangered cat species globally.
And the Spanish imperial eagle.
Aquila adalberti, Europe's most endangered raptor. For both of them, the rabbit is the dominant prey. We're talking like 80% or more of their diet sometimes.
So their dramatic population declines are pretty much directly linked to the rabbits disappearing.
In large part, yes. It's a reflection of the rabbit's scarcity.
What's fascinating here, though, is that the problems didn't just stop with the specialists starving. The paper mentions that the decline also caused behavioral shifts among the generalist predators.
Yeah, which led to increased conflict with people.
How so?
Well, it created this cascading failure and social friction, too. Generalist predators, they couldn't find enough rabbits, so they switched. They started hunting other available medium-sized prey, like the red-legged partridge.
Ah, and that puts them in direct competition with hunters managing partridge populations.
Exactly. Which then led to increased persecution, illegal killing of predators like the red kite, especially in those few areas where rabbit populations were still high and hunters wanted to protect what game they had left.
So it's this system where losing one small animal means specialized species face extinction and generalist species face, well, human hostility.
It really underlines the rabbit's central role.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Given the sheer scale of those consequences, how did Delibes-Mateos and his team actually go about quantifying this keystone relationship? They needed more than just anecdotes, right?
Right. They needed hard data across the landscape.
You're
They
done.
couldn't just say, oh, the eagles declined when the rabbits declined. They needed proof.
So how'd they approach it?
They used a two-pronged approach, basically. Two complementary levels of inquiry across southern Spain. Level one was this broad community survey
Okay.
that was across 20 different hunting estates between 1997 and 1998. And the first job was obviously measuring the rabbits.
Which they did initially by counting them along driven transects at dusk, the classic visual survey method.
Exactly. Rabbits seen per kilometer. Pretty standard stuff. But at the same time, they did monthly counts of raptors from high vantage points.
And they categorized those raptors.
Yeah, based on their relationship with the rabbit. So you had your dedicated rabbit killers, then scavengers who benefit from rabbit carcasses, and then, other species.
And crucially, to make the results really useful for conservation strategy, they assigned each site a quantitative conservation value index.
That index was key because it wasn't just a count of species. It weighted them based on the Spanish Red Data List.
So endangered species counted for more?
Right. Scored from 1, not threatened, up to 5, critically endangered. This left them say, objectively, Site A, with lots of rabbits, supported a significantly higher concentration of highly threatened species than Site B, with fewer rabbits.
Okay, that makes sense. So that brings us to level 2, where they really narrowed the focus onto the big one, the Spanish imperial eagle. Why did they switch their methodology for the second phase? It seems like the transect counts were working.
Well, this part of the study, done a bit later, 2002, 2003, across 120 survey sites, it really demanded a more reliable, less transient measure of rabbit presence.
Ah, because visual counts only tell you who's out and about right then.
Exactly. You need something that reflects sustained population density over time.
A long-term proxy.
Proselythin.
So they introduced the pellet abundance index, the PAI.
Pellet counts.
Okay, yeah, basically counting rabbit droppings in small plots along these 4-kilometer transects. They recorded pellets per square meter.
And that's considered a reliable index of abundance.
Very reliable for long-term abundance and how much an area is used. It's independent of time of day or, if the rabbits are feeling shy. The goal was simply to see if the presence or absence of this critically endangered eagle was statistically linked to a high PAI.
And the discovery they made, across both the community survey and the eagle focus, it provided really clear, strong evidence, didn't it? Connecting rabbit numbers directly to conservation value.
The correlation was, well, undeniable. In that broad community survey, the number of raptor observations.
Just seeing them. Yeah, and the sheer diversity of rabbit predators and scavengers both were positively correlated with average rabbit abundance. Basically, sites with thriving rabbit populations just supported a richer, more complex predator community. Simple as that.
But the real kicker, I think, for conservationists was that figure 3 in the paper, it showed that sites with the most rabbits were mathematically determined to be of higher overall conservation value based on that weighted index.
Right, which means prioritizing the rabbit's habitat effectively means you're conserving like a dozen threatened species all at once.
That really puts the findings right at the heart of conservation policy, doesn't it?
It absolutely validates the idea that sometimes saving a prey species is the fastest, most efficient way to save its predators.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. Diving into that specific Spanish imperial eagle data, the statistical difference is just massive.
It is stark. Stark is the word. I mean, first off, the eagle was pretty uncommon. Present at only 31 out of the 120 surveyed locations.
So about 25%.
Yeah. And then they compared the average rabbit abundance, that PAI, for the two groups. Sites with eagles versus sites without. The difference was just astounding.
Give us the numbers.
Sites with eagles averaged 101.33 pellets per square meter.
Okay, quite high.
Whereas sites without eagles averaged only 13.96 pellets per square meter.
13. Wow.
The conclusion is pretty inescapable. The critically endangered Spanish imperial eagle was overwhelmingly more likely to be found in sites where rabbits were, frankly, flourishing.
Let's just translate that for a second. Statistically, you are over 8 times more likely to find rabbits thriving, measured by their droppings in areas where this critically endangered eagle chooses to live and hunt. It establishes such a powerful link.
It really does. But if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the paper confirms the rabbit as a keystone, sure, but it also highlights what makes it kind of exceptional. Its multifaceted role. It's doing more than just being prey.
Right. The paper talks about it acting as an ecosystem engineer. That's not something you typically think of for a small herbivore. What are these other keystone actions?
Well, this is what makes the rabbit so unusual. It's not just an interactor. It's also a builder. Most keystones, they regulate other species through predation or competition.
Like the otter-eating urchins.
Exactly. The rabbit physically constructs and alters the habitat. For instance, all that nibbling, their constant consumption of vegetation, it actually helps maintain a specific, open, almost savanna-like pattern in certain Mediterranean scrublands, like those dominated by Rotama spherocarpa.
So they're landscape gardeners, in a way, and crucial for plant propagation, too, right? The paper mentions seed dispersal.
Absolutely. They're excellent seed dispersers. They move the seeds of at least 58 different plant species around.
58?
Yeah. So when you think about that, the rabbit isn't just maintaining the ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's like a walking, digging restoration project for dozens of native plants.
That's incredible.
And there's more. Their latrines affect soil chemical fertility, and their extensive warrens, their burrows, they provide essential, temperature-stable refuge areas for other species.
Wait, other animals use their burrows?
Oh, yes. They provide vital refuge for everything from the Montpellier snake and the Eurasian badger.
Badgers? Okay.
And the source specifically notes this, the endangered Iberian lynx, which often uses rabbit warrens for shelter or even for rearing its cubs.
Wow. Okay.
This whole role, it makes the rabbit kind of analogous to prairie dogs in the United States.
Ah, okay. Siamese.
Right. They also alter landscapes, live at high densities, and support highly specialized predators like the black-footed ferret. It's a similar ecological dynamic.
So, taking all this on board, what does it really mean for conservation strategy moving forward? It feels like this research demands a complete strategic pivot.
It really does. The results strongly suggest that conservation efforts need to focus far more on improving the status of this quote-unquote small game species.
Because rabbit recovery protects so many other species.
Exactly. It confers protection to a massive number of co-occurring species. It proves that saving the prey is often a highly efficient conservation mechanism.
And rabbit abundance itself, specifically that PAI index, that offers a practical, measurable tool for conservationists.
Correct. It provides a valuable metric. You can use it to pinpoint areas of current or, perhaps more importantly, future conservation interest. That's a factor that wasn't traditionally considered when designing special conservation areas in Spain.
So instead of just waiting for the lynx or the eagle to show up, you can predict potential recovery hotspots based on rabbit health.
That's the idea. Be proactive based on the foundation species.
This raises a really profound, complicated question, which the paper highlights directly. The data showed rabbits are significantly more abundant on hunting estates.
Yes.
That puts conservationists in a really strained, potentially awkward position.
This is the core strategic complication, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because the hunters are, somewhat ironically, often the people managing the land in ways that artificially maintain the high rabbit densities that these critical predators need, usually for sport hunting, obviously.
Right.
Yet historically, those same groups have sometimes been implicated in the illegal persecution of protected predators, the eagles, the kites, often to protect those same valuable game stocks.
It's a total paradox. The people enabling the keystone species might also be a source of illegal mortality for the species that depend on that keystone.
That is the real politic challenge. And the paper, it emphasizes that the future success of these specialized predators really depends on conservationists finding ways to collaborate.
Work with hunters and estate managers.
Exactly. They have to ensure management practices improve rabbit numbers while simultaneously enforcing strict conservation of the rare predator species. No wiggle room on that.
Is that actually happening?
Well, this integration is starting to happen. Rabbit recovery is now being formally incorporated into major predator recovery efforts, like the Iberian Lynx Life Project. They explicitly recognize you can't save the top predator without guaranteeing its food supply at the bottom.
So to kind of synthesize this whole deep dive then, we've basically learned that this humble European rabbit, it's the biological foundation upon which much of the biodiversity of the Iberian Mediterranean ecosystem rests.
Yeah, it's not just a food source. It's an ecosystem engineer,
Yeah.
a seed disperser, a habitat provider.
And its recovery is practically synonymous with the recovery of critically endangered species like the Spanish imperial eagle.
There really is. And, it makes you wonder, given this evidence that conservation success can hinge so profoundly on the status of just one prey species, what does that imply about the stability, the resilience of the entire Mediterranean ecosystem?
Good question.
We often worry, understandably, about the charismatic megafauna. But this study really suggests we should be paying much closer attention to how reliant other biodiversity hotspots might be on these seemingly ubiquitous little species, the ones we tend to overlook.
A powerful reminder that the true ecological keystones don't always wear a crown or have the biggest teeth.
Agreed. Definitely something to keep in mind as you continue your own deep dive into the intricate web of life.